Picture this. I'm standing on the edge of a world that's both mine and not mine. The city sprawling beneath me like a living, breathing puzzle. My name's Naomi, and at 35, I've carved out a life in this urban jungle that's as steady as the concrete under my feet. I live in a high-rise apartment with my husband Thomas, where the hum of traffic and the glow of neon are as familiar as my own heartbeat. My days are a rhythm of work, errands, and quiet evenings. Comfortable, predictable, like a song you've heard 1,000 times. But Thomas, he's the wild note in my melody. At 38, he's a drone technician and videographer, a man who chases the sky like it's his first love. His passion is capturing the city from angles most people never dream of seeing. Rooftops, cranes, the kind of heights that make your stomach drop just thinking about them. He's meticulous, almost obsessive, with every shot planned down to the pixel. When he's up there, gear in hand, it's like he's speaking a language only the wind understands. And sometimes, he pulls me into that world, inviting me to stand beside him on those dizzying edges, to see the city through his eyes. Then there's Jesse, Thomas's younger colleague, who's become a fixture on these rooftop adventures. He's in his late 20s, all easy charm and carefree grins, the kind of guy who seems to float through life without a single worry weighing him down. Where Thomas is intensity and focus, Jesse is a breeze, always ready with a quip or a story to cut through the tension of standing 100 stories above the ground. I can't help but smile when he's around. His lightness balances the weight of Thomas's drive. The three of us make an odd trio up there. Thomas lost in his equipment, Jesse tossing out jokes, and me, somewhere in between, soaking it all in. There's something about those rooftop trips that shakes me awake. My life on the ground feels so structured, so safe. But up there, with the wind tugging at my hair and the city looking like a toy set far below, I feel a spark I can't quite name. It's not just the thrill of the height, though that's part of it. It's like I'm brushing up against something bigger, something I've been missing without even knowing it. I'm content, sure. Thomas and I have built a good life together. But there's this quiet itch, a curiosity about what else might be out there, just beyond the horizon of my everyday. I don't have words for it yet, but it's there, humming under my skin every time I step onto one of those concrete ledges. I can still hear the sound of Thomas's drone on those days, that low, steady buzz cutting through the air as it lifts off. I remember one time in particular, standing on the edge of some old industrial building, gripping the railing so tight my knuckles ached, but today, it's different. We're climbing higher than ever before, scaling the skeletal frame of an unfinished business center that looms over the city like a giant caught mid-breath. The building is raw, all concrete beams and steel girders, no walls or windows to shield us from the elements. Each step up the makeshift stairs echoes in the hollow space, and the wind bites through my jacket, sharp and relentless, as if it's trying to push me back down. I can feel the grit of dust under my boots, the air thick with the smell of rust and construction. When we finally reach the rooftop, it's like stepping into another world. The city sprawls below us, a chaotic maze of flickering lights and restless movement, stretching out in every direction until it blurs into the dark horizon. Up here, it's just us and the vastness. The rooftop, a barren slab of concrete that feels forbidden, like we've trespassed into a place not meant for human feet. Every sound, the creak of metal, the howl of the wind, feels amplified. And every sensation, from the cold stinging my cheeks to the unsteady tremble in my legs, is razor sharp. As we catch our breath, Thomas is already in motion, completely in his element. He drops to one knee, unzipping his gear bag with the precision of a surgeon, pulling out drones and controllers, his hands moving with a practiced rhythm. He's calibrating camera angles, muttering to himself about light conditions and wind speed, his focus so intense, it's like the rest of us don't exist. I step a little to the side, drawn to the edge of the rooftop, where the view sucks the air right out of my lungs. The height makes the world below seem almost unreal, like a miniature model I could reach down and rearrange. Jesse sidles up beside me, his presence a warm contrast to the cold, and points out landmarks with a grin. See that tower over there? That's where I had my first date. Total disaster. And over there, that's the diner with the best late-night fries. We're on top of the world, Naomi, literally. His laugh cuts through the wind, light and carefree as always, and I can't help but chuckle, even as I grip the edge of a steel beam for balance. I glance back at Thomas, still hunched over his equipment, oblivious to our banter. It's typical of him to zone out like this, but today, his silence feels heavier, like there's a wall between us I can't quite see. Standing here, I'm caught in a strange tug-of-war between exhilaration and unease. The wind is sharper up here, slicing through me with every gust, and the height, it's more dizzying than I expected. My stomach churns as I look down. The ground so far away, it's almost abstract, yet the pull of it is real, magnetic. It's not just the literal edge I'm feeling. There's something else, a metaphorical brink I can't name, like I'm standing there, teetering on that unnamed brink, when Jesse shifts even closer to me. His shoulder brushes mine, and I feel the warmth of him cutting through the icy wind. Then, his voice drops to a whisper, so low I almost miss it over the howl around us. The wind's changed, so have I. I turn my head to look at him, confused, my brow furrowing as I try to decipher the weight behind his words. Before I can even form a question, his hand is on my waist, firm and deliberate, pulling me toward him with a confidence that hits me like a shockwave. My breath catches in my throat as his lips brush against my neck, soft but electric, sending a jolt through every nerve in my body. I'm frozen, caught in this surreal moment, my mind racing while my body refuses to move. The cold concrete under my feet grounds me, a stark contrast to the heat of his breath on my skin. The wind whips around us, relentless, tugging at my hair and clothes as if it's trying to tear me away from this mistake. In the distance, I hear the faint hum of Thomas's drone, a reminder of where I am, who I'm with, and who I'm betraying. My heart pounds so loud I'm sure Jesse can hear it, and yet I don't pull away. Not right away. I let it happen, standing just meters from Thomas, who's hunched over his gear, his back turned to us, completely unaware, or so I tell myself. The guilt crashes over me almost instantly, a tidal wave that threatens to drown me right there on this rooftop. It's heavy, suffocating, clawing at my chest as I stand pressed against Jesse, feeling the forbidden thrill of his touch mixing with the bitter taste of betrayal. How did I get here? How did I let myself cross this line, one I didn't even see until I was already over it? My mind screams at me to step back, to shove him away, to run to Thomas and pretend this never happened. But there's another part of me, quieter but just as real, that doesn't want to stop. It's raw, ugly honesty, admitting to myself, and to you, that there's a rush in this moment, a spark I haven't felt in so long, and I'm clinging to it even as it burns me. The silence between Jesse and me is deafening. Every rustle of our clothing, every gust of wind, sounding like a scream that could shatter the illusion and expose us. I'm hyper-aware of everything, the way my breath hitches, the way his fingers press into my side, the way the city below seems to hold its breath, watching, judging. His hand tightens on my waist, pulling me even closer, and my own hands hesitate, trembling as they hover in the air before finally resting on his shoulders. It's like I'm watching myself from above, detached, horrified, but unable to stop. The stolen kiss deepens, and the world around us blurs, the city lights smearing into streaks of color far below, the wind a distant roar in my ears, the cold concrete forgotten beneath my feet. Time slows, stretching this moment into something endless, dangerous, intoxicating. My heart is a drumbeat, erratic and loud, and I can feel Jesse's pulse racing under my fingertips. But then, just as suddenly as it started, we pull apart, both of us breathless, chests heaving as reality slams back into focus. My eyes dart toward Thomas, still crouched over his equipment, his silhouette framed against the darkening sky. He hasn't moved, hasn't turned, hasn't given any sign that he's noticed a thing. Or has he? My stomach twists with a new kind of fear. A paranoia that gnaws at the edges of my mind as I wipe a shaky hand across my lips, trying to erase the evidence of what just happened. Jesse and I step away from each other, the space between us suddenly vast, cold, and awkward. I smooth my jacket with trembling fingers, tugging at the hem as if I can straighten out the mess I've just made of my life. He runs a hand through his hair, avoiding my gaze, his usual easy grin nowhere to be seen. My heart is still hammering in my chest as I force myself to move, to walk back toward Thomas, each step feeling like I'm trudging through quicksand. I'm trying to act normal, to plaster on a smile and pretend that the last few minutes didn't just turn my world upside down. But my pulse is a wild thing, thumping so loud I'm sure it's echoing off the concrete around us. I can feel the heat still lingering on my skin, the ghost of Jesse's touch burning into me, and I'm terrified that it's written all over my face. As I approach Thomas, he looks up from his equipment, his face a mask I can't read. His eyes meet mine for a split second, and I freeze, paralyzed by the thought that he might have seen something, sensed something, in the way the air has shifted between us all. Did he catch a glimpse out of the corner of his eye? Did he hear a whisper carried by the wind? Or is this just my guilt painting suspicion where there's none? The silence that settles over the three of us is suffocating, thick and heavy, broken only by the relentless whir of the drone hovering somewhere above. It's like the world is holding its breath, waiting for someone to shatter the tension, but no one does. I stand there, rooted to the spot, my hands clenched at my sides, while Jesse lingers a few steps behind, his presence a weight I can't shake. Thomas straightens up, wiping his hands on his jeans, and then he holds out the drone controller to me. His voice is steady, almost too calm, as he says, "Your turn to hold the altitude. I'll watch how you do it." There's something in his tone I can't quite place, a sharpness lurking beneath the surface, and I'm left wondering if his words carry a hidden meaning. A test I'm not sure I can pass. My hands tremble as I take the controller from him, the cold plastic slipping against my sweaty palms. I grip it tighter, trying to steady myself, but I feel like I'm holding more than just a piece of tech. I'm holding the fragile thread of this moment, and one wrong move could snap it. Jesse, meanwhile, is doing his best to act like nothing's wrong, but it's painfully obvious he's forcing it. He's turned away from me, avoiding my gaze entirely as he makes small talk with Thomas about the drone's footage. "Hey man, did you see that angle over the east side? Killer shot with the sunset bleeding through the skyline." His voice is light, casual, but there's a strain to it, a crack in his usual effortless charm. I can't look at him either, my eyes glued to the controller in my hands, but I feel the distance between us like a chasm, even as we stand just feet apart. Thomas, though, doesn't seem to notice Jesse's awkwardness, or if he does, he doesn't show it. Instead, his attention is locked on me, his gaze heavy and unrelenting as I fumble with the controls. I can feel it, the weight of his stare, like he's not just watching my hands but peering straight through me, dissecting every nervous twitch, every shaky breath. It's suffocating, like I'm under a microscope, and I'm certain he can see the guilt etched into every line of my body. My mind is a storm, thoughts spiraling out of control as I try to focus on the drone. Guilt gnaws at me, sharp and relentless, tearing into every corner of my conscience. Did Thomas see us? Did he catch that fleeting moment when Jesse and I were too close, too tangled in something we shouldn't have been? Or am I just projecting my own paranoia, seeing suspicion in his eyes because I know what I've done? I keep replaying that moment by the edge, the heat of Jesse's breath on my neck, the way my heart raced with something other than fear. And the worst part, the part I can barely admit to myself, is that I don't regret it. Not fully. There's a dark, twisted corner of my soul that liked it, that craved the rush, the forbidden spark that lit. I'm standing here on this wind-swept rooftop, the drone controller shaking in my hands, and I can barely keep my focus on the tiny blinking dot in the sky. My fingers fumble over the sticks, the hum of the machine wavering as I struggle to maintain its altitude. Every gust of wind feels like it's pushing against me personally, trying to knock me off balance in more ways than one. Thomas is still watching me, his eyes like lasers cutting through the dim light. And I can't shake the feeling that he knows, that he's always known. Then, without a word, he steps forward, his movements sharp and deliberate, and takes the controller from my trembling grip. His fingers brush mine for just a second, cold and impersonal, and he turns to face me fully, his expression a storm I can't read. In a voice so quiet it's almost swallowed by the wind, he says, "I saw you, Naomi. I saw everything." My stomach plummets, a sickening lurch like I've just stepped off the edge of this building. My breath catches, and I feel the blood drain from my face. He saw us, whether it was through the drone's camera feed flickering on his screen or a stolen glance over his shoulder. It doesn't matter. He knows. I see it in the raw pain etched into his features, a hurt so deep it's like a physical wound. But there's something else there too. A cold, simmering anger I've never seen in him before. Not in all the years we've been together. It's not loud or explosive. It's worse. It's controlled, contained, like a fire burning just beneath the surface, waiting to erupt. I open my mouth to say something, anything, but the words stick in my throat, choking me. "Thomas, I stammer, my voice barely a whisper, but I can't finish. There's nothing I can say that will undo what he saw, nothing that will erase the betrayal he must feel. My eyes dart to Jesse, standing a few feet away, and I see him freeze, his usual easy charm replaced by a pale, wide-eyed silence. He looks like a deer caught in headlights, hands shoved deep in his pockets, as if he could disappear into the concrete if he tried hard enough. The air between the three of us is thick, electric, like the moment before a lightning strike. Thomas doesn't even glance at Jesse, though. His focus is entirely on me, and that hurts more than if he'd shouted or thrown a punch. His silence is a weapon, sharper than any words could be, and I feel it slicing into me with every passing second. Then, without breaking eye contact, Thomas turns his attention to the controller in his hands. His fingers move with a precision that's almost violent, sending the drone soaring higher into the darkening sky, its buzz growing fainter as it climbs. It's reckless, pushing the machine beyond its usual limits, and I can't help but think he's channeling every ounce of his rage into that tiny piece of tech. He's not yelling, not lashing out, but this calculated, deliberate act is more terrifying than any outburst. It's like he's pouring his hurt into the drone, letting it carry his anger into the heavens where it can't touch us. Or maybe where it can't touch him. I watch, helpless, as he steps away from me, walking slowly toward the edge of the rooftop. His boots crunch against the grit of the concrete, each step echoing in the hollow space around us. He stops just inches from the drop, staring out at the city below, the sprawl of lights flickering like a sea of stars. There's a heaviness to his posture, a weight I can feel even from where I stand, like he's deciding something monumental, something that could change everything. My heart races, panic clawing at my chest. What is he thinking? What is he planning to do? I take a tentative step toward him, my voice trembling as I plead, "Thomas, please, let me explain." But before I can get closer, he holds up a hand, not even turning to look at me. His voice cracks, raw and broken, as he says, "Don't, just don't." His words cut through the wind, sharp and final, stopping me in my tracks. I stand there, frozen, my heart pounding so hard it feels like it might shatter my ribs. Thomas doesn't turn around, doesn't give me a chance to see his face, to gauge just how deep the wound I've inflicted goes. Instead, he starts packing up his gear with mechanical precision, his movements jerky, almost angry, as he shoves the drone controller into its case and zips up the bag. The silence that follows is heavier than the concrete beneath us, heavier than the city stretching out below. He doesn't say another word, doesn't even look at me or Jesse. He just slings the bag over his shoulder and motions with a curt nod for us to follow him. There's no discussion, no confrontation, just that silent command hanging in the air like a guillotine. We start the descent down those endless flights of stairs, the unfinished building swallowing us back into its cold, echoing belly. Each step feels suffocating, the air thick with dust and the weight of unspoken words. My boots scrape against the rough concrete, the sound grating on my nerves, while the dim emergency lights cast long, jagged shadows on the walls. It's like we're descending into some kind of purgatory, trapped between the high of the rooftop and the harsh reality waiting below. Thomas leads the way, his back rigid, his pace unrelenting, not once looking back to see if we're keeping up. Jesse trails behind me, his usual chatter gone, his footsteps hesitant, like he's afraid to make a sound. I'm caught in the middle, my chest tight, my mind a whirlwind of guilt and dread. Every creak of the building, every distant howl of wind through the open beams, feels like an accusation. I want to say something, to break this oppressive quiet, but my throat is dry, my tongue heavy with the fear of making things worse. By the time we reach the ground level, my legs are shaking, not just from the physical strain, but from the emotional toll of that silent march. The cool night air hits my face as we step outside, but it offers no relief. Thomas stops near the curb, his silhouette stark against the flickering streetlights. He doesn't turn to face Jesse, doesn't even acknowledge him directly. His voice is flat, devoid of any warmth as he says, "Leave. Now." It's not a request, it's an order, cold and unyielding. I catch a glimpse of Jesse out of the corner of my eye, his face pale, his mouth opening as if to protest, but he thinks better of it. He gives a small, defeated nod, shoves his hands deeper into his pockets, and walks off into the night, his figure shrinking until the darkness swallows him whole. Then Thomas turns to me, just for a moment, his eyes meeting mine. There's no anger there now, just a deep, hollow sadness that cuts me to the core. "We'll talk later," he says, his voice low, almost a whisper, before he turns away again. He climbs into his car, the door slamming shut with a finality that echoes in my chest. The engine roars to life, and I watch, helpless, as the taillights disappear around the corner, leaving me standing alone on the cracked pavement. The city hums around me, indifferent to the wreckage of my life, and I'm left to figure out how to get home, how to piece myself together after everything that's just shattered. I manage to flag down a cab, sliding into the back seat with a heaviness I can't shake. The driver mumbles something about traffic, but I barely hear him. My eyes are fixed on the window, on the city lights blurring past in streaks of gold and white. They used to feel alive to me, vibrant, full of possibility, but now they're cold, distant, like they're mocking me with their indifference. I press my forehead against the cool glass, the hum of the engine a dull backdrop to the chaos in my mind. I've hurt Thomas in a way I can't undo, in a way I never thought I was capable of. The image of his pained expression haunts me, a constant reminder that some mistakes leave scars too deep to heal. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.